nature. And today we're talking about the furry and the fuzzy. There was a long title for this one: the furry, the fuzzy, the slimy, the scaly, and all of life's creatures. And so um, I am so grateful to Dr. Raymond Anderson for being here last week. His talk was amazing, and he spoke on water. And if you haven't watched it, I invite you to go to check out our page on Facebook or on YouTube and watch his video. And how he started is, in the beginning, is where is God and what is God? And if we believe that there is no place where God is not, then we believe that God is in the water, God is in the land, in the animals, in the birds, and the fish, and the insect. God is all as all in this divine creation that we call life. So I was thinking about this. If when the animals and the creatures of the earth and creations of the earth are in the right place at the right time, we are delighted to see them. And visiting a zoo or a farm or a wildlife sanctuary, wherever we are, we're, I don't know about you, but I'm always in awe and appreciation for the animals that I'm seeing. There is a wildlife sanctuary near my home that I visit often and take walks there. And it's such a delight to see the ducks and the geese and the heron. And sometimes, if I'm lucky, I'll see an eagle. But there's all kinds, all species of birds that live there and thrive in the sanctuary. And it's a delight to see. So I moved to a new condo recently, and I also enjoy watching the birds. When I sit out on my deck, I have beautiful trees and just watching all the different birds. And one evening at dusk, I noticed that there was activity. The birds were really darting here and there. And the more I watched them, I realized that what I was seeing darting from here and there was not a bird, but a bat. And there were bats just, you know, zooming from one place to another. And suddenly, my joy turned to fear because it wasn't a friendly little bird, it was a bat. So now I was afraid. And I actually ran inside. I was like, wow, those are a little too close for me. So I got curious why I've lived in different places, and I haven't seen that kind of activity. And so I wanted to find out, well, what's going on with the bats? Well, the bats are, that time of night, they're eating insects, and they eat their body weight in insects every night. And it helps the foresters and the farmers protect their crops from pests. And bats help spread seeds for nuts, for figs, for cacao, the main ingredient in chocolate. Without bats, we could say goodbye to bananas, avocados, and mangoes. Over 300 species of fruit depend on bats for pollination. And so my curiosity helped calm my fears because bats have been portrayed as evil and scary, and they're after you, when in fact they have no desire to be around humans. And so, but that fear was activated. So once I did my research and I understood them, I was felt more centered and calm, and I could sit on my deck and watch them without fear, and that they were busy doing what they're supposed to do, and that they're taking care of and eating all these insects. So then I went back to a place of peace. I left that place of joy. Course in Miracles reminds us, if you are fearful, it is certain that you will endow the world with attributes that it does not possess, and crowd it with images that do not exist. Because my image of a bat, first of all, was huge. It was like probably 3 feet long, when a bat is a very small creature, and that it was scary when it can be scary, but it's doing something good. So we appreciate creatures. We're in the right place at the right time. And so recently I was visiting Tucson, Arizona with a friend, and I was eating lunch out on the patio, and there was a fence a few feet in front of me, and then that below that fence it dropped down about maybe 6 or 7 feet, and there was a canyon below. There was like a desert canyon, and it was beautiful. And I saw something moving in the canyon, and I got up and leaned over the fence. I thought it was a dog, and I leaned over and saw what looked like a wild boar. And first I saw one, and then I saw another, and then there was a baby. And then as I grabbed my phone, I started taking a picture. And as I glanced around, I looked, and there were like 12 of them down in this canyon area. And so I called the desk at the resort, and I said, "There's some kind of wild pig in around here." And they said, "Yes, those are called javelinas, and that they're not actually pigs, they're distant relative to pigs. And they feed on plants and animals, but mostly they eat grasses, shrubs, beans, and cacti, and roots. And they have poor vision, but they have an incredible sense of smell. And they do move together in packs. And they are not harmful, or they look scary, but they're not scary unless you approach them. And they really don't like dogs. So they feel threatened by dogs. And that's the only time that they've been known to attack, is if someone approaches them, or if they see a small dog, they feel like they're in danger. And so I thought about that. The javelinas were there first, right? That was actually their land. And the resort, the developers came in and plopped a property and a pool and a lot of fences in the middle of their desert. And so they were there first. So it's learning how to live in cooperation with the animals around us, and not to be in fear of them again, but to be curious. And I thought about it, that it would have been really helpful if the resort had like a brochure or a flyer or something posted on the wall explaining what they were, and please don't feed them, because that's a problem that a lot of wildlife has, where people feed them when they shouldn't, and not to approach them. And it would have been very nice if they did that. And it would have been kept any dogs safe. But that's the thing with us humans. We believe that we are the most intelligent life form on planet Earth. And the reasoning is humans are best at what humans do, so we must be the intelligent species. Ducks can't write poetry, if you follow this crazy logic. So they can't write poetry. So if they can't do what humans do, then humans must be more intelligent than other creatures. And in his book, Confessions of an Eco-Warrior, Dan Foreman says that environmentalists identify this as anthropocentrism, or known as homocentrism, which means that humans believe they're the center, that they're the most intelligent. And it's the underlying reason why humans feel the need to dominate and to develop most of the earth. So anthropocentrism is believed to be the central problem in our philosophy toward the environment. The evidence in traditional Western attitudes are systematically biased against the non-human world. And as long as humans hold this superior belief that we are superior to other species, we will continue to experience racism, biases, discrimination against ourselves and the planet. If you want to watch a great movie, an animated movie about this belief in fear that's activated, there's a Netflix movie called the Sea Beast, and it really shows how we develop fear and how we develop war against creatures and each other. And so we become fearful because of the stories that are told, and we make people and species the enemy. And so instead, what if we were curious? Instead of making assumptions, what if we were curious about why people do or behave in a certain way, or why creatures are a certain way? You know, my curiosity for the bat and the javelina helped me be at peace. Then I felt, with the javelina, I felt blessed that I got to see one or a group of them, you know. But whenever we have fear, the purpose of fear is to create more fear. But when we're curious, we can find out, what's the fear about, and what am I not understanding? And that's really what is so important for us today. You know, we can battle the creatures of the earth or learn to live with them. And so many of the animals and species are being abused, tortured, and killed for no reason other than greed or fear, or I'll go back to mostly greed. It's greed, wanting something from them. Instead of honoring that, we feel we need something that they have, the wool or the tusk or the hide. And so it's an opportunity for us to see life in a new light, to remember that there is a universal life that flows through everything. When we do, we remember and recognize our divine oneness with God. Ernest Holmes says, "You live because life lives in you. You move because a universal energy flows through you. You think because an infinite intelligence thinks through you." So we have this universal life moving through each of us and moving through all of creation. If we could recognize that, we would honor that. So last year, I had the absolute honor to visit Yellowstone, and what an awareness of our planet, to see all the different species there, and we were in their backyard. We were visiting their land. And I noticed one day, my friends and I were in the car, and we were on our way to one of the sightseeing places on the other side of the wherever we were, and we were stuck in traffic. We weren't stuck in traffic. We were stopped, and we were waiting. And what we knew, and there was an agreement there, that the reason we were stopped is when you're in Yellowstone, you know you can't go anywhere if the bison decide it's time to cross the road. So the bison are crossing the road, and all traffic stops. And we couldn't see what was going on. We just saw all the cars in front of us, and they were all stopped. And when cars are stopped, you know that there's something going on. And so we were at peace with it. And I thought, what if that was how we were in life? Rather than being in such a hurry and rather than being angry, what if we were patient that something is happening and I am just at peace until whatever this changes or moves, but that I can be in the presence of love and not be angry at the moment. When we humans can see that God is in all things and not as view them as the anthropomorphic white person that we are, we can shift this paradigm. But it takes respect. It's difficult to respect the planet and all aspects of the planet if we don't respect each other, if we don't see God in all things. It begins with respecting ourselves, to know that we are here as a vessel, that this body is a vessel holding our soul, having the opportunity to be on this planet right now. And what an opportunity it is to learn about our spiritual selves, to learn about our relationship with the earth, with our beingness, with humanity, and to learn and grow spiritually. Our existence here is to explore and discover the unity with all life. And Emma Curtis Hopkins says, if you believe that the omnipotent power operates in and through and as all things, then do you believe it is worth our while to give our mind and our strength and all of life to finding out how to deal with it? Isn't that our most important thing, to understand the omnipotence of life and how are we in relationship with it, and how are we in relationship with all of the creation that life is in the world? Our work here is to put our attention and our awareness in knowing that God is all there is, and that each of us is that divine revelation. And what happens when we have that? Aren't we living at a greater place of respect? When we have respect for all life, respect for each other. Ernest Holmes says, we believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in everyone and everything, and that all people, all life, are incarnations of the one Spirit. So I have a friend who had a little dog named Charlie. He was a little Shih Tzu. And she was, my friend was very excited because she was retired and she got an RV and she was ready to travel with her little dog Charlie and go and visit people in different states and in different areas. And so she was on her first adventure. And off they went. She was on her way to visit her family from, I think it was Arizona to Ohio or something. And she was on her way. And Charlie was in the back and he was barking. He was barking and barking. And she could not stop him. And she kept saying, what is going on? And she tried to give him a treat and everything, and he just would not stop barking. And so she finally said something's wrong, and she pulled over, and she got out and went to the back of the RV, and she saw smoke and opened the hood, and the RV was on fire. Charlie saved her life. She grabbed Charlie and her phone and stepped aside, and fortunately somebody stopped to help her. And she watched as her RV and her travel plans burned, literally went up in smoke. But that little dog had the awareness to get her attention, to save her life. And I'm sure every one of us has some kind of story about a pet that spoke to us, that loved us, that nurtured us in a way that we felt love, we felt healing, we felt at peace. So we think we're the most intelligent species, but we are not. That all of life is divine intelligence. And Anthony Douglas Williams says, one day we will know that all animals have a soul. Hopefully, this knowledge does not come when it's too late. Because this is the time right now. This is the opportunity we have to be in that place of awareness, awareness of the one life, awareness of divine love, that every time we express love in the world toward another person, toward humanity, toward the other species of the world, we are extending that presence of love. And that love is changing the world. We're at a very critical time that there are very important decisions for us to make as a human species, and for us to care for this other species around us, to care for our planet, to care for humanity. And love is going to change that direction. So it's up to us to not be against something, but to be curious, and not to be fearful, but to be aware, and not to be feeling separateness, but to feel that presence of love. I love the stories of St. Francis of Assisi. And there's a story of one day one of the brothers brought a rabbit that had been caught in a trap to St. Francis. And St. Francis talked to all the animals, and they would listen. And he advised the rabbit to be more alert. And then he released the rabbit from the trap and had him go on his way. But the rabbit ran back to St. Francis and hopped on his lap. He didn't want to leave. Because why? He felt that divine love. He felt that oneness. So he took the rabbit a few steps into the woods and set it down. But it followed Francis back to his seat and hopped on his lap again. Finally, Francis asked one of the other friars to take the animal far into the forest. And finally, that worked. But this kind of thing happened repeatedly because St. Francis was that presence of love. He saw love for all of life. He saw love and felt love for all creation, for all peoples, for the presence and the power. He was that embodiment of love. He knew that each creature was endowed with the presence of God. And that the same thing in his life happened with all creatures, with all animals, birds, fish. It was very often he would have birds flock to him as he spoke. And when he was in the boat, the fish would linger and listen. He showed us the opportunity to be in that presence of love for all of God's creation. And again, this is our work right now. This is our work that's so important, not only for humanity, but for all creation, to know the power and the presence that is God within all, to respect ourselves, to know that we are loved, and to respect ourselves. It's so often that we speak poorly to ourselves. We say negative things to ourselves. Would you say that to your best friend? Probably not. So it's having that awareness of how am I being, how am I speaking, and how do I express this love for myself and for all creatures, all people, all humanity in the world. So we are at this turning point. There is so much love that is ready, and what we see is everything unlike love is coming up to be revealed. And this is an opportunity as we are healing the planet. For as many stories as we hear about what is not working, there are people that are doing amazing things to help heal the planet, to help heal each other, to help heal our earth. We contribute to that with our energy, our light, and our love. And so as we close today, I want to read St. Francis's prayer. That is so beautiful, and then I'll take us into prayer. So if you'd like, just allow your heart to be open and ready to receive. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, let me sow pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life. And so how grateful I am for this sacred time together, for this opportunity to be in this divine creation called life, that life is all, God is all. God is that presence, that power, that life moving in and through and as each one of us through all of creation, through all of the creatures, the furry, the fuzzy, the scaly, the slimy, all of life. God is. And so for each one of us, we celebrate that life. We embrace that life. We allow that presence of love to fill our hearts, our minds, and to be that emanating, illuminating light that shines from us, through us, to all of creation, through all of humanity, through all of the planet. That this divine energy, as it flows through us, it flows through life, and life is blessed. And so I give thanks for this with a grateful heart, for our time today. And know we go out in light and love, and so it is.